Howdy folks, and today's Star Wars lore episode is on the BARC speeder. Manufactured by the Aerotech Repulsor Company, who had already designed the cheaper 74Z that was later favoured by the Empire for its scout troopers, the Biker Advanced Recon Commando Speeder was, as the name suggests, originally meant for the sole use of the elite ARC troopers. The bike performed so well that the Republic immediately began to roll it out more generally. A little over a year after the Battle of Geonosis, there was even a civilian variant of the BARC in use with the Coruscant droid police. Now, while critics may have pointed to the similarities between the BARC and the Ripper speeder produced by Aerotech's rival Mobcat, the Republic speeder bike was a perfect blend of form and function. It was held aloft by powerful repulsors and pulled along by a turbine engine mounted on the front forks. The Mobcat Ripper was an unarmed speeder, while the BARC had two sets of twin blaster cannons, fore and aft. The Coruscant Security Force variant of the BARC was dubbed the Rapid Response Speeder. Aside from the paintwork, which was blue and grey, the CSF logo on the rear, and the red and blue flashing light bars front and rear, the Rapid Response Speeder was only lightly armed. A single pair of light blaster cannons were mounted on the front prongs. These bikes quickly became a regular sight around Coruscant, though they were mostly piloted by the bucket-headed grey and blue Coruscant Security Force police droids. When the droids began to be slowly phased out with the rise of the Empire, the rapid response bikes lasted longer. Eventually though, the 74Z speeder bike replaced those as well. Unlike the older skeletal looking 74Z bike the Empire favoured, the BARC speeder was heavily armoured by comparison, with all its major components fully protected by plating that could easily deflect a glancing blaster bolt. It even offered some protection from a direct hit from light weapons. The speeder could return fire using the fixed pairs of twin blaster cannons mounted on the front and back. Control of the bike came from the steering handlebars that the pilot gripped and the two foot pedals. This was a very familiar, simple control system found on great many speeder bikes and swoops. The main turbine pulling the bike forward was at the front, between the directional steering vanes. There were additional steering surfaces at the back of the bike. Now, with cooling intakes on either side of the rear body of the bike, the bulk of the back of the BARC speeder was taken up by the powerful repulsor lift engine. Now, unlike the older 74Z, which had a 25-meter flight ceiling, the BARC could fly high enough that it could act as an escort, ceremonial or combat, for the likes of large gunships or shuttles. Though the BARC was designed for a single occupant, that powerful repulsor lift capability allowed some flexibility. There was a sidecar option, allowing for a passenger and little additional cargo to be transported with no significant loss of speed or flight ceiling. And the same hardpoint connectors allowed for the addition of a stretcher, meaning the BARC was widely used by field medics to evacuate injured troops from the battlefield. Though the Empire chose the cheaper Aerotech 74Z speeder bike, the Rebel Alliance was more than content to use the tougher, better armed and armoured, ever reliable BARC speeder. They were to be found in use all across the galaxy, after being left around many of the battlefields of the Clone Wars. This was particularly the case on planets where larger vehicles found the going tougher, as on heavily forested Kashyyyk and Felucia, or where the battle for control had lasted longer, as it had on Selukami. Now, with so many of the bikes having been manufactured and then slowly phased out, it was no surprise that no small number of them made it onto the black market, and from there into the hands of pirates and other criminals. Civilians also bought the BARCs from more legitimate sources, though many that did had the military components often rudely removed. BARC speeders with custom paint jobs and components were often swoop gangs and speed freaks' treasured rides of choice. And that is the BARC speeder, as used during the Clone Wars and seen in the Clone Wars TV series. So if you like the video, be sure to drop a like, subscribe if you're new, be sure to turn on notifications to keep up to date with all my videos. Leave a comment, let me know what you thought of the videos as well, and I'll talk to you all on the next one. Later.